Okay, imagine this. You spent years, maybe even decades, on a spiritual path, right? You're aiming for that big breakthrough moment, and you're finally there. You think you're at the absolute peak, ready for enlightenment, and then the whole thing gets completely, hilariously derailed by something just totally ordinary, mundane even. It makes you wonder, maybe those profound experiences, maybe they don't happen where we expect. So today we're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating short story. It's about a seeker, Vic, and this pretty unexpected encounter he has with someone named Juno. Our mission really is to unpack how our ideas or preconceived notions about what's profound can get challenged, maybe even transformed by things we normally just ignore. We're working just from one source today. It's called veilofmayajuno.pdf. It's short, but wow, it packs a punch. I'm excited to get into this because the twists, they really make you stop and think about what enlightenment even means. Right, let's paint the picture. Vic's quest for ultimate awareness. The source gives us this really strong sense of the place, this hall, described as thick with incense, damp fabric, and the unspoken tension of 100 seekers desperate for salvation. Ooh, can we'll smell it. Yeah. And right in the middle of all that is Vic. He's cross-legged, spine unnaturally straight, eyes half closed but vibrating with intensity. For him, this isn't just any night. It's the night. The night of ultimate awareness, it's called. And the monks, they've made this promise. If he can stay conscious, like truly aware, totally unwavering, until the sun comes up, he'll pierce the veil of illusion, achieve enlightenment. His big goal, to dissolve into the fabric of the universe. Pretty intense. So the ritual starts. A gong sounds. Everyone breathes in deep, trying to sync up. And Vic has these specific affirmations like mantras. Inhale, awareness. Exhale, acceptance. Inhale, the impermanence of all things. Exhale, the fleeting nature of suffering. I mean, he is all in, totally committed. You can just feel that intense, like, sacred stillness he's aiming for.
Absolutely. And that phrase, piercing the veil of illusion, that really points straight to the concept of Maya. You know, this idea in several spiritual traditions that what we perceive as reality might actually be an illusion itself. So yeah, it's high stakes for Vic. He's relying on this incredibly strict discipline, basically rejecting everything ordinary. He believes this specific night, this ritual, is the key to enlightenment, that, you know, a profound awakening, understanding everything, maybe even losing the sense of self. His whole method is about shutting out the external and focusing purely inward.
Right. And into that carefully built stillness, bam, the first disruption. The source calls it a sharp sacrilegious sound. What is it? Crack, crunch, chew, boop, boop, boop. And then that awful little crinkle of plastic. It sounds so deliberate, you know, unapologetic and ferric. You can just imagine his internal monologue kicks in immediately. Ignore, detach, witness, do not become the disruption. He's trying, really trying, but it just keeps going. Crack, crunch, chew. It's relentless. So slowly, like, it pains him. He turns his head, and there's Juno, just lounging against the pillar, legs stretched out, utterly at ease. The source just calls him a gig worker, hired for some vague manual labor, just some guy. And this guy, Juno, offers Vic a peanut. Like, seriously, Vic sees it as, get this, a cosmic trap. So he refuses really tightly. I don't eat during meditation. But Juno's response, it's kind of amazing. So simple, but it just stops Vic cold. And he goes, I respect that. But, like, you don't meditate during eating either, right? So if you don't eat while meditating and you don't meditate while eating, then there's always something missing, right? Whoa. The source says Vic's mind jammed. The logic of it looped infinitely into itself. All Vic can think is, this has to be a test, a spiritual ambush.
Yeah, that logic from Juno, it's so disarming, isn't it? What strikes me immediately is how Vic's super rigid framework just gets completely sideswiped by Juno's simple observation. It's undeniably true in a way. Yeah. Vic's trying so hard to transcend the physical, right, to separate himself, and Juno's just completely in the moment, literally chewing on it. It throws up this huge question right away. Is real awareness about cutting yourself off from your senses, or is it about fully engaging with them? Even, you know, the really mundane stuff like eating peanuts.
It's such a great contrast. Okay, so the peanut crunching finally stops. A bit of silence returns, fragile silence. And then the next thing happens. That unmistakable flick of a lighter. Wow. Oh, no. Followed by, the slow, deliberate exhale of cigarette smoke into the still, sacred air. And Juno, he's just completely indifferent, like not meditating, not attempting reverence, not even pretending to belong. He just catches Vic's eye, who's probably fuming, and gives him a lazy nod. Vic's frustration now is just, it's going through the roof. He's looking around at the other people meditating, thinking, are they just so enlightened they don't notice, or am I the only one going nuts here? He can't take it anymore. He leans over, whispers, like quiet but furious, are you serious? Enlightenment. This is part of the process. And Juno's reply is so simple, almost like he's messing with him. Dunno, man. Could be. And then he smiles. That's when the source says Vic feels something shift in his gut. His carefully built stillness just shatters. It turns into something raw, rage, disbelief, and this awful feeling that the universe is personally mocking him through this one idiot.
Exactly. And the fact that the other devotees seem unfazed, that's crucial too. It really isolates Vic in his own very specific, very rigid idea of what sacred means. Like you said, Juno probably isn't trying to be malicious, not intentionally. He's just operating in his own world, doing his thing. And that world just fundamentally clashes with the illusion Vic has so carefully constructed. That question Vic asks, enlightenment, is this part of the process? It says everything. He's so locked into his expectations of what enlightenment should look like that anything outside that narrow frame feels like an attack. It really pushes him.
You brought up that Juno might not be intentionally malicious, but yeah, from Vic's point of view, it absolutely feels personal, like a targeted attack on his sacred moment.
Yeah.
How do we square that difference in perception?
Well, that's really the core of it, isn't it? Vic is projecting all his own intense desires, his expectations, his definition of sacred onto Juno's actions. He's interpreting everything through the lens of his quest. Juno, though, he's coming from a totally different place. Just, the reality of being a gig worker taking a break. It's that clash of realities, that massive gap in perception that gives the story its power. It forces us, the readers or listeners, to question our own projections, too. What assumptions do we make about people and why they do things?
Right. And Vic is definitely pushed to the edge. He actually stands up, breaks the whole symmetry of the hall, storms over to Juno, just seething. You are ruining enlightenment. And Juno, totally unfazed, just asks, enlightenment can be ruined. It's such a simple yet profound question. Vic insists it's about the sanctity of the space. He's desperate now. And that's when Juno drops the bombshell, just casually reveals, this place, it's a rental hall, man. They booked me through a gig app. You think I'd be here otherwise? Can you imagine Vic's face? Just utter shock. You were hired to do what? And Juno's answer is perfectly logical for him, but totally absurd for Vic. To know, manual labor, carrying chairs, haven't been given instructions yet. And Vic asks why he's smoking, and Juno's like, it's my break. Simple as that. And then the final straw. Juno flicks his cigarette butt right into a nearby prayer bowl full of incense sticks. Vic just loses it. Really, he yells, pointing, that is a sacred bowl. And Juno's reply, so literal it hurts. It's a bowl filled with ash. Wow, a rental hall. All that effort, all that striving in a rental hall with a gig worker on a smoke break. It's almost tragically funny.
It is funny in a dark way. And that's exactly the point where Vieng's whole rigid structure just collapses. This whole sequence, the peanuts, the cigarette, the reveal about the rental hall, it's not just random disruption, it's a complete dismantling of Vieng's perception, his sense of control, the purpose he'd assigned to this moment, the sanctity he projected onto the space. It all just falls apart. It fundamentally challenges the idea of what makes anything sacred or any moment enlightening. Is it inherent? Or is it just something we project onto things, our own carefully built illusion?
Exactly. And this is the turning point. The source says, something inside Veit collapsed. The sheer irony just washes over him. He had spent years dismantling his ego, silencing his worldly desires, breaking himself down to dust, and here was this man, treating reality like a casual side quest. Just another Tuesday for Juno, basically. And then it happens. Veit laughs. The text says, it escaped against his will, a short, sharp bark of something between hysteria and revelation. And Juno's response is just perfect. Simple validation. See, you get it. And the final irony, Juno just wanders off, completely unaware that he had just triggered Veik's first real enlightenment. He has no idea. So what's the takeaway here? If this story is telling us anything, it feels like maybe that path to real understanding isn't always about, blocking out distractions or sticking rigidly to the plan. Maybe sometimes it's about embracing the messy stuff, the mundane, the chaotic, the totally human things we try to ignore. Is that it? It seems like it's about seeing things as they actually are, not just how we wish they were. Maybe the veils we need to pierce aren't external illusions as much as our own resistance to just reality.
I think that's exactly right. Vigil's incredibly difficult journey, all that effort, it didn't culminate in the way he expected, through intense focus and denial. Instead, enlightenment, or at least a start of it, came through this collision with absolute ordinariness, this unapologetic, disruptive presence of just a regular person being themselves. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that maybe enlightenment isn't always found by escaping the world, but sometimes right in it. It happens when our own definitions, our ideas about what's sacred or what counts as progress, get fundamentally challenged. It's almost like Juno's sheer lack of pretense, his ordinariness, was the exact key Vig needed to unlock his own rigid perception.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Think about your own life. Are there any sacred spaces or maybe personal goals or quests that you've defined really rigidly, Could it be that those strict definitions are actually maybe holding you back from a different kind of insight, perhaps a more immediate one, an enlightenment that comes simply from seeing things clearly, exactly as they are, even when they're messy or ordinary or, just a bit inconvenient? Something to think about.